What's up, everyone? It's Willette with Urbex and Coasters, and today I am at Movie Park Germany, and as you might see, they are playing Jurassic Park music. Who do they think they are, Universal? And we've got the crown jewel of this park right here. Also, something I'm going to mention. This park is owned by Parques Reunidos, so had you told me when the Palace Hirschend deal happened that I would be at another Parques Reunidos park before I would be at one of the former Palace parks that's now a Hirschend park, I would have been like, I don't believe you, but I'm excited if that's the case, and look at that, it's the case. And the last Palace park I was at isn't even a Hirschend park, because it was Castle Park, which is owned by Lucky Strike. Sure is weird to see something that's supposed to represent back home when we're not. We're very much not there, and that looks nothing like Santa Monica Pier back there. I don't think we have a Vekoma SLC there. Alright, so as of right now, Star Trek Operation Enterprise is probably the best coaster I have ridden by Mack Rides. That is probably not going to remain the case very long because, as I sort of hinted at, we are going to be doing Ride to Happiness later on this trip, i.e. within a couple days, and that is a ride I'm super excited for. But Star Trek Operation Enterprise, I would say it's got some solid airtime moments. I will warn that the lap bars do in fact staple, so if you don't want to get stapled, make sure you are holding on. And yeah, like I'd say pretty fun ride here that they've got. Okay, so I just got off of Van Helsing's factory, and well, that shows me that yet again, Gerstlauer can make killer family coasters, just like they did with Dragonfly, and they can make a killer family coaster. So with that ride, I don't want to say spoilers if you have not been here, but pay attention to the anti-rollback system on the two lift hills, and you will notice that there is a difference, and there is something that means. I'm not going to spoil it for those of you who have not ridden it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the surprise, it shall not be spoiled, but it shall be stated that it is not a ride to skip here. Where's that D.H. Morgan family coaster at? You know, on second thought, you know, the rides here, you know, I haven't heard great things about them, but in this section, but they may be better than West Coaster. Oh, look, we've got a Jaws here. I guess, is this Universal Studios Deutschland, I guess? Should we be saying with all this stuff that I'm seeing that's all very Universal coded? Alrighty, so I just rode Bandit, a ride that has a pretty infamous reputation. It's my first RCCA, and it's not in RCCA. Like, I grew up in RCCA's home country, and my first RCCA isn't even in their home country. So take a moment to laugh about that. But anyhow, I'm gonna say Bandit, it's not terrible, but it definitely feels like it's running with a high amount of friction on its wheels. It's at worst at worst, the airtime is non-existent. At best, it is extremely weak floater. So, like, that is my thoughts on Bandit there. It's at best very, very, very weak floater. So, definitely not the best roller coaster that I've done, but not as bad as a lot of people say it is. Alright, so I just rode Iron Claw, their Vekoma SLC here, and I'm just gonna say not terrible, definitely not as bad as a lot of enthusiasts say SLCs are. I would say that, yeah, I would take it over Bandit, and I also didn't think Bandit was as bad as many say that it is, but I will say one thing about this ride here. After the Sidewinder here, you do gotta watch out on that turn, because that turn does have a little bit of jackhammering, I have noticed. So I noticed on my ride, but other than that, not terrible. So let's come to this part of the park, please? What's the issue? There's a mouse! There's a mouse! But anyway, this mouse, it's not a bad mouse, but it looks more aggressive than it rides off-ride, I'm gonna say that. But yeah, like of the mock mice, I'd say this is on the higher end for the ones I've done. But still, it's just a mock mouse, so not anything special. So on Atomic Flyer behind me, they did get new trains from Vekoma. It does have the layout of an old Vekoma Hang and Bang, but it has the new trains, so that's pretty cool. And it runs it runs a decent cycle. Also, I want to point out that they've got a log flume here that's a portable log flumes layout, but they put it in a mountain. I wonder if I'm the only one that has done this and Círculo de Cielo for Dora themed rides in a 1 week time span. It was exactly a week ago that I was on Círculo de Cielo, so I wonder if I wonder. So, final thoughts on Movie Park Germany. I thought that Operation Enterprise, you had a pretty good layout. Like, I mean, currently my favorite mock, especially if you can avoid getting stapled. That top hat has some solid airtime, that barrel roll down drop. I mean, it's not as aggressive as what I suspect the death roll on Iron Gwazi would be like, but going into a barrel roll down drop with some speed, pretty good. Second best in the park, I would say definitely would be the Gerstlauer bobsled at Van Helsing. And that ride, like I said, has some surprises to it. And then for some of the more supporting rides, I mean, that mouse, it's far from the worst mock mouse I've done, because a lot of those are way over trimmed. And then for Bandit and the SLC, I'm forgetting what they call their SLC here, definitely not as bad as a lot of enthusiasts make them out to be. Bandit, its biggest crime is being forceless and feeling like it has a lot of friction on it. So but like, I mean, it still does have some very weak floater. It's nothing like what the Coney Island Cyclone has, which it's supposed to be emulating. It's nothing like that, but it does still have that. It does still have a little tiny bit. And like, I mean, it was my first RCCA, so gotta count for something. And their SLC here, far from the worst I've done. So I would say definitely, like me talking through that, their lineup here, if you're doing a park trip in Europe, this park is definitely worth including, especially since 2017 when they added Operation Enterprise.